This mode pack currently includes 7 modes for working with clips and scenes in Session View. The first of these is Session Mode. This sets up the matrix for launching clips. The matrix accessory buttons are used for launching scenes. The arrow buttons are used for navigating to the clips and scenes that you want to control. When Shift is pressed, you'll have an overview that you can use to quickly jump to different parts of the session. If the controller has RGB LEDs, the LEDs will reflect the color of clips and scenes. If the controller has additional modifier buttons, you'll be able to access some additional functionality. When Quantize is pressed, you can quantize notes or warp markers. When Double is pressed, you can double the contents of MIDI clips. When Delete is pressed, you can delete clips and scenes. And when Duplicate is pressed, you can duplicate clips and scenes. These modes are functionally identical to Session Mode, except instead of launching clips, they perform some modified functionality. So for example, here I'm in Session Mode where I can launch clips. I can momentarily switch to Session Select Mode where I can select clips, and then fall right back into Session Mode so I can continue launching clips. The other 2 modes work in the same way. So with Session Duplicate, I can duplicate clips, and with Session Delete, I can delete clips. This mode is essentially the same as Session Mode, but also manages track arming and the Session Record button for you. I'll give you an example of how this works. For this example, I've turned on fixed length recording so that my clips will have a fixed length. And I've also got a drum part here for a timing reference. In this mode, the upper half of the matrix and matrix accessory buttons function exactly as they do in Session Mode. The lower half offers track control. This row here indicates which tracks are playing and can be used to stop tracks, and the accessory button will stop all clips. This row can mute tracks. If pressed quickly, these will toggle mute state, and if held down, they'll function as momentary switches. The accessory button will unmute all tracks. This row will solo tracks, and again, if you press them quickly, they'll toggle solo state, and if you hold them down, they'll function as momentary switches. By default, this row will work according to your exclusive solo setting and preferences. When Shift is pressed, this row will work in the opposite way of that setting, and the accessory button will unsolo all tracks. The bottom row here is multifunctional. It can be used to select tracks. If a track is already selected, it'll toggle the arm state of the track. The accessory button here can be used for disarming all tracks. If the track is a group track, holding down the button will fold or unfold the group, and if Shift is held down, this will select the track as well as the playing clip on that track if there is one. If the controller has additional modifier buttons, you can access some additional functionality from the bottom row. When Delete is pressed, you can delete tracks, and when Duplicate is pressed, you can duplicate tracks. This mode is a bit different than the other modes in this pack. It allows you to store and recall session snapshots, which are snapshots of the playing state of all the tracks in the set. You can think of these like scenes that aren't bound to a horizontal row of clips. To give you an example, I'll go into Session Mode and launch clips on various scenes. And then I can store that as a snapshot. Of course, you don't need to use Session Mode to set things up. For example, I can use the mouse to set things up, and then store another snapshot. And now I can recall these. By default, this will work like scenes, so the launching is quantized. When Shift is held, you can launch the snapshots without quantization. When this button is held down, you can delete snapshots that have been stored. If the controller has a dedicated delete button, you'll use that for deleting snapshots.